This is Kristin Beltzer, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Connect with KB. My guest today is a great guy, and I am so happy to have him in studio with me. He has led the business community through some turbulent times in 2020, and like many other regional leaders, he is helping employers and their organizations push through the economic fallout. I want to welcome to the podcast Tim Daman, President and CEO of the Lansing Regional Chamber. Thanks for joining me, Tim. It is so great to have you here in studio, be with me.
Well, Kristin, I'm excited to be here.
You know, it's high time that we had an opportunity for you and I to connect a little bit, talk a little bit about the chamber, talk about the challenges in 2020. And obviously, you guys have had your hands full in terms of the business community. But I want to start with the Tim Daman story. Yeah. I want you to tell the listeners who you are and really what is Tim Daman all about?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here today. It's you're right. It is great to connect. And so the Tim Daman story, where do you begin? I'm from Lansing, and I if you think about and say, well, boy, you're working in the chamber now in this business community, and you aspire to be there. I mean, not even close, right? And so, but I grew up in Lansing, not too far from downtown here. And you know what? And close proximity here. I remember coming downtown here and shopping at Knapp's, and when J.C. Penney's was downtown, and Shepherd's Shoes and all the different things, and Lieberman's. And so really seeing downtown Lansing probably at the height of people coming downtown and shopping and enjoying it, and then watching downtown kind of fade away and decay a little bit, but the revitalization that's happened now. But so, growing up here and graduated of Lansing Sexton High School and went on to graduate from Michigan State, and I've been able to find the opportunities that have kept me and my family here in this region. So it's exciting time in the last 10 years, decade, and being part of what's happening here in our community and being that hometown person. It's extra special when you're able to do that and give back to your hometown.
Absolutely. And you are a Spartan.
I am a Spartan. Go Green.
You bet. And you have had an opportunity to work very closely with Michigan State, too. So not only MSU, but state government as well. And then, of course, you put in the business community and the power behind that. Talk a little bit about your role at the chamber and, really the role that you have played in the state, in this region since March, and how critical that's been. Well,
I tell you what, this has been a very, very challenging year, right, for so many people on so many fronts. But, so we had 2 years ago, we went through, and KB, you were with us at that time. Remember, our offices were going through the renovations, and it required us to move out and work remote for about a 6, 7, 8 month period. And in hindsight, the best thing that ever happened for us, because, we built the trust that, just because we're not seeing our people doesn't mean that we're not working, and all of those different things. And so, we were preparing back in about the end of February. We started preparing for what this might look like. And if we had to go remote, we knew our team was set up with laptops. And on Friday, March 13th, I'll never forget it, right after the lunch hour, the governor had announced, I think, state government was closing. Michigan State had decided to go online. And we said, okay, the time's now. We're gonna go remote. And we'll be back here in a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll do this. And so as much as we thought we were prepared, I will tell you by Monday, March 16th, the world had been tipped upside down, and we were completely unprepared. And we were staggered. And it was a tough 2 weeks there for everybody. I mean, everyone was kind of learning Zoom, and, you had the 40-minute Zoom time, and after 40 minutes, you timed out. Sure. And it's like, oh, God, what do we do now? But you know what? Our team, my team, they were so amazing, and everybody just said, you know what? We hit the pause button for a couple days. We regrouped and put together a plan and strategy in each one of our areas. And I would say from about the middle part of April on, we have been hitting on all cylinders. And again, I go back to 2 years ago and having that remote that experience with the remote work there with the team. But you know what? We have helped hundreds and hundreds of small businesses from understanding the PPP process to unemployment insurance back at the height of all of this, and to where we are today with the Relaunch Greater Lansing effort, which we brought together some business, community, healthcare professionals, education professionals to really take all of these resources. And things were changing. They say we're changing every hour of every day. And so we were staying on top of that as well as we could, and communications every day to our members. And it's as crazy as it might sound, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of challenging, but it's been a lot of fun, and the team has just been amazing.
Well, when you talk about kind of the mantra of the Lansing Regional Chamber, and you talk connect, grow, and thrive, you guys certainly have done that over the last 7 months. And it has given you an opportunity to, kind of change your model a little bit and how you do communicate. And you're doing a great job in regards to, communicating with members. I continue to receive your correspondence and these opportunities to get virtually connected to everyone. And I think that you've seen a great deal of success with that. And I think that people really wanted that. I think that they, as much as, things did get turned upside down, they wanted to see some continuity and consistency to being connected to the business community. And I think you guys have done a great job with that. Let's talk a little bit about the multitude of benefits to members. And what do you think is that driving reason that people want to get to connected to a chamber?
Sure. And you mentioned the Connect, Grow, Thrive, and you're right, our mission statement that we changed 2 years ago has never meant more than this year, right? With what and how you do that, and things have been sort of escalated. So, you have ideas and thoughts that you're thinking about working on, and not only in our organization, but in business in general. And everyone's just had to escalate that a little bit to where they wanted to go. And so I was reading an article recently from Disney, and it kind of talked about some changes they were making to their corporate structure. And they were plans that were going to be implemented over the next couple of years, but COVID required them to just, expedite it and move it up a little bit. So I think there's so much of that as well. And, the benefit piece at the end of the day is without question, is the connectivity and engagement and networking. And that's been obviously hindered this year and us going virtual and whatnot. But you know what? We continue to talk about our role in this region, KB, and this, and $3 billion in economic development right now, and what and how are we continuing to do the things that we need to do that this region can continue to grow, this region can continue to add jobs, and whether that's infrastructure investment. We just celebrated the opening of the Coleman Road extension and the northern tier of East Lansing, which was I'm sort of the planning board for about 20 years, and collectively 2 years ago with a group from the city of Lansing and East Lansing, Ingham County, Clinton County, businesses in that northern tier, the Chamber, LEAP, the CVB, really coming together to get that project across the finish line. So how do we continue to invest in the infrastructure? And so I think it's a lot of those big picture regional leadership pieces with what and where and how we're trying to communicate, engage, and engage our our investors. Well,
and that was kind of a long time coming. Obviously, infrastructure has been a priority, and to really see that actually come about, it had to be very satisfying to you and your team. And it really is very much like the Blue Ribbon Commission years ago about people coming together for the good of the region and really putting a plan in place and making sure that it actually happens. And I was really pleased to see that. I see where, you are also partnering with LEAP on this economic benchmark study, I think that's going to be released here soon. And do you have like kind of a sneak peek at that? And what did you want to accomplish with putting that together?
Yeah, so we're excited about this. And this was all done pre-COVID, and we were prepared to roll this out in April, May of this year. And obviously those plans were changed, but we benchmarked our region against 11 like regions across really the Midwest and into the Southeast. And so we were, we probably had about 30 regions we wanted to do. We were able to narrow it down to get it down to the 11, but they're the 11 that we're competing for jobs and investment. And those include, cities like Indianapolis, Columbus, Minneapolis, Greenville, South Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee. So some really larger urban metropolitan areas, but how do we aspire to get there? I think, without question, we could have went and benchmarked ourselves against lesser regions and looked much better, but I'm not sure we would have been doing the right thing for the region and so forth. And so, we look at it, there are things like population growth. KB, we're last in 11th of population growth. And so if we can't grow our population here, we're going to continue to struggle. Our private sector, we have a very, very small private sector in comparison to some of these other regions. So how do we continue to grow the private sector? One thing we have is we're affordable. And that's always been a negative. And so we're kind of looking at this as how do we flip that and make that more of a positive? Listen, if you're trying to relocate from either the coast and coming in here, you know what, this is an affordable place to live. And so I think we've got to kind of flip that equation. And then the education component. And that's, again, no surprise there. And how do we continue to increase our education attainment level? So those are some of the areas that we're looking at, we think that are key indicators for us and where and how we can set this region up for the next 10 years, 20 years for some economic growth.
Well, you have had an opportunity over the last couple of years to bring business and education to the table and grow those relationships. And I've continued to watch that. And I think that that's imperative in regards to, one, our educators understanding what the needs of the community are, but our business community and those leaders too, understanding the challenges that are in the classroom. And especially now as we continue to watch our school districts really have to kind of figure out what are those next steps in bringing kids back.
Yeah, I agree completely. And, I think everyone is saying this right now, but I firmly believe that until we're able to go back to in a safe environment for in-person learning, a business, it's going to continue to be a struggle to reopen our economy. I know our team of 11 at the Chamber, we have 4 folks with young children at home. And so even if our offices were reopened, we have 4 of our team members who just are not going to be able to, do the in-person and be on site. So it's something that folks are struggling with right now, and I think they're juggling it. And you talk about the mental health aspect, and I think sometimes the kids' mental health sometimes gets overlooked with what and how they've been desocialized from friends and that structure and environment. And I think the one thing that you and I know, because we talk a lot about this over the years, right, is having that structure is so critically important. That's why you say after Labor Day, when kids are back in school, things just escalate. But people need a little bit of that routine. We can take those summer months off, but we need some routine and structure in our daily lives.
Absolutely. I've been on some Zoom calls and, with people and their kids are there and also the kids pop into the picture and they apologize profusely. And I'm like, you know what, you just do whatever you need to do. It's okay. We can just sit here. We'll wait a couple of minutes. You take care of that, because I don't have little ones at home anymore, but I can only imagine how challenging that is.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I'm with you. This is one point in time when we're lucky we don't, right? Because what would you do? Would you want your kids to be back in person learning right now? And I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that either. As we talk about challenges, you and your team are involved with advocacy, and, sometimes that is met with some controversy. And how do you generally handle that when it comes to issues and making decisions? Because, it's a really slippery slope there in regards to, taking positions.
It is. And I think, and working very closely with you, KB, over the years, I learned so much when in the advocacy and the government relations area here. And I think we've always tried to do this, it's member-led. And so these are the priorities that we're hearing from the business community, which I think is critically important. And is it the right thing for the region? And is it the right thing for the organization? And when you can answer yes to all 3 of those, I think you're moving in the right direction. And that doesn't mean that you don't wade into some issues that are controversial, and you do. And you know what, we've learned a lot over the years, and you try to learn from, you don't want to say previous mistakes, but certainly mistakes are made and you would handle things differently. And I think you have to continue to grow and whatnot. But I think at the end, it's a lot about relationships too. And we sit here in the center of the state, and this is how our politics are. It's in the center, and we're, that's where we are. And we have a strong representation from both sides of the aisle, and we have those strong relationships there. We're not West Michigan, we're not Southeast Michigan, we're not Northern Michigan. So we're unique to who we are. And I think when you have those relationships, you can disagree with somebody, and you still have the respect where you can come back because you're going to find that common ground where you're going to work with them in the future.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head. You and your team have figured out, how to really focus in on the relationships versus the transactions. Mm-hmm. And you and I have had a lot of good conversations about this. And I truly believe that when you have the relationships, that the transactions will come. And sometimes chamber membership isn't a good fit for everyone. And you have to understand that. And sometimes it's a timing thing too with people. But how do you think that has boded for you and the team in regards to the relationships and how critical that is?
Well, it takes a while to learn that, right? And I'll tell you, I said, I'm from Lansing. I would say when I started at the Chamber back in 2005, I'm not sure I knew that there was a Chamber of Commerce in Lansing. I had been working in economic development at the state, and so you come over, and it took me 35 years of my life, almost 40 years of my life, to really understand the impact of relationships and that networking. And now here you are, and you're enthralled and entrenched in all of this, and it is so much about that. And I'll never forget Sue Parr, who was the senior vice president at the Chamber when I first hired in. And Sue left 2 weeks after I started to go to Augusta, Georgia, to run the Augusta, Georgia Chamber. And she said to me, she goes, Tim, the one thing you're going to learn here is that people are going to invest in you. They're going to invest in that relationships. And you know what? I didn't get it at that time. It was a couple years later before I really fully understood what she meant by saying that. And I to this day, I tell that story regularly because it is. People invest in you. And I think that's for true in life no matter where you are, whether you're in the business community, you're an entrepreneur,
you're coaching,
yeah. Whatever it might be, right? Yeah. They're going to invest in, invest in you, and it's part of that relationship and treating people, just treating people fairly.
Absolutely. How about aspirations for you? What you'd like to accomplish over the next 10 years? You've been at the Chamber now 15 years. You were at the MEDC. You've had a great career. What does the next 10 years look like?
Boy, I don't know. We get through 2020 right now, right? But get to 2021. But no, you know what? I think I always, number one, it's never been about me. And I know the next 10 years will not be about me. But at the same time, I have a responsibility to make sure that we continue to have the Chamber grow and the Chamber be in a good position. I think financially, I think just within the region, sort of that trusted leader. And so I think that over the next 10 years, I really want to continue to do that. And I think if you can sit back and look at where the region is and know that we're providing opportunities for our kids, Kristin, kids our age, right? And having them, do they want to stay here? And I know that in talking to both of my kids, they're in different parts of the state right now, but they are so happy to see what's happening here in Lansing. And so, what can we continue to do to make this an attractive place to live and keep some of our young talent here at home?
Some of your greatest leadership lessons, Tim?
Oh my gosh, I would say, this year, I have grown more personally and professionally this year than at any point in time in my life. And I've had some great people around me, including yourself. You were so instrumental in shaping me into who I am today. I think about Ross Woodstock, another good friend of ours and whatnot. But I will tell you, being able to take it from, you kind of talk about your leadership principles, and you talk about listening, and you're talking about authenticity and being humble and all of these different things, the good with the bad. But this year, things like mental health and things like work-life balance and things about innovation and creativity, all of those things have come into play. And, that's tough. And I'll never forget, it was the end of May part. And, we had been going nonstop. I mean, we were working hard, and you could just kind of tell the team was getting there. And it was just one of those days you just had this like, all right, you know what? Time out. Everyone, it's Thursday and it's noon. We're wrapping up this call. We're done for the week. We just, let's get away. And, starting to encourage our team, listen, if you work well from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., do that. But at 8 a.m., go work out, go take your walk and do those types of things and find that balance, because it's been a challenging year with that. So I think just flipping that around and thinking about where you've been as a leader, and then 2020, and really it's been the best year for, I think, me personally, and probably for a lot of leaders as well, and how they've grown.
Well, you know what? I wish you continued success. I see the growth in you too, and I want you to say hi to Jason and Abby for me, as well as the team at the Lansing Regional Chamber. Maybe we do this again. Maybe the Beltzer Daman Business Hour. We might want to start a little podcast soon. You and I.
There you go. Let's do it. This studio is nice.
I
can
nice.
Get comfortable
You bet.
here.
Absolutely, Tim. You are welcome to come anytime you want. All right. You have an open invitation. I want to thank my guest, Tim Daman, President and CEO of the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. I also want to thank my supporting sponsors, Marketing Resource Group, White Law, Dowding Industries, Governmental Consultant Services, AF Group, AT&T, and the Loomis Law Firm. You can listen to all of my podcasts at connectwithkb.com. Until we connect again, go live your best life. I'm your host, Kristin Beltzer.